Ninja cats on unicorns, nerd helmets, and Intel wants to give you a new car. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 423 for Monday, September 14th, 2015. This episode of Tech News Tonight is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service that is the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TN2 to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TN2. Welcome, I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. Google has hired a CEO for its autonomous car division in what appears to be the most interesting new CEO hire since the company has restructured. Google is bringing on veteran car business guy John Krafchick, who was most recently president of online car shopping service TrueCar. Krafchick is a mechanical engineer with a business degree who worked for Ford and was the CEO of Hyundai. This means Google's self-driving car project is serious business. The hire also suggests a new era for the Google robot car as the company begins to lift the veil of secrecy and collaborate with different partners across the industry. Chris Urmson, who previously headed the division, will stay on as the technical lead for autonomous vehicles and software. In other self-driving car news, Intel really wants to stop car hackers, and they're willing to do it Oprah style. Intel is searching for security researchers with expertise in the field of cyber physical systems. To that end, they've created the Automotive Security Review Board to run security tests and to define best practices around self-driving car security. The company also said they would award the best researchers with a new car. The new iPhone went on sale over the weekend, and at midnight on Friday, you could start pre-ordering the phones for arrival on September 25th. What about for those of us who slept in and then went for a leisurely run on Saturday morning and did not get around to ordering the phones until around noon? Well, we'll get ours around October something. An Apple spokesperson said that today that customer response to the iPhone 6s and the iPhone 6s Plus has been extremely positive, and pre-orders this weekend are on pace to beat last year's 10 million unit first weekend record. You can officially buy the phone in stores on September 25th. Record reports that Google has been found guilty of abusing their dominant market position in Russia. This comes as a result of complaints by Russian search engine Yandex earlier this year. Since then, Russian regulators have been investigating whether Google unfairly pre-installed its own services like digital maps in its Android software. Google must now change its agreements with phones and other device manufacturers to accommodate the concerns of Yandex and other developers. Russian regulators could also hit the company with a fine. Google dominates search in most areas of the world, but in Russia, Yandex still has 50% of the market share. Coming up, I'll talk to Alex Wilhelm from TechCrunch about Microsoft's big October event. But first, you know that you should be investing your money for the long term for you or your family's financial health, and you've probably wondered how you should do it. Trying to do it yourself, especially the right way, is complex and time-consuming. Luckily, there's Wealthfront. Traditional advisors charge huge fees between 1% and 3% of what you've got under management, plus hidden fees for transactions and changes. Wealthfront makes it easy for anyone to access world-class long-term investment management. You can get started investing today at a minimum of $500. You sign up for an account at wealthfront.com, and in just minutes, it goes right to work monitoring your portfolios around the clock and taking action as soon as the opportunity arises. Wealthfront is transparent and accessible. You can view all your accounts in one place, whether they're personal, joint, or retirement accounts. You can also see every trade that Wealthfront makes on your behalf in your dashboard, on your desktop, or with their mobile app. With Wealthfront, you pay 1/4% a year. That's 25 basis points, 0 commissions, and no hidden fees. Less than $5 a month to invest a $30,000 account. There are no additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. Join Wealthfront and start investing your money today. Wealthfront.com/TN2 to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for Twit listeners, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge, and that's for life. Claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TN2. For compliance purposes, I have to tell you that Wealthfront Incorporated is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are offered through Wealthfront Brokerage Corporation, member FINRA, and SIPC. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Investing in securities involves risk, and there is a possibility of losing money. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please visit wealthfront.com to read their full disclosure. Today, Microsoft sent out invitations to an event in New York City on October 6th. Joining us to talk about what hardware might be announced, as well as a few other Microsoft stories, is Alex Wilhelm, writer at TechCrunch. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And I'm proud to note that I'm wearing my actually official Twit headset. So if my audio is bad this time, I actually blamed them, and I'm off the hook. So
excellent.
Proud to say.
Good to have someone to blame.
Indeed.
So what do you expect to see at the event in October?
Well, I think that everyone's hoping to see the Surface Pro 4, so the third or fourth iteration of that product. I think people want to see a couple of very high-end Lumia Windows 10 smartphones. There are rumors of the Microsoft Band 2. So it's kind of a wide range of stuff. But given that Microsoft is really trying to make a big deal out of this event by, sending invites and generating press coverage and so forth, I presume there's more than one product that will come out. I think Surface Pro 4 at a minimum, and then whatever else comes is a bit of gravy. But Microsoft definitely has to prove in the new Windows 10 era that its hardware plans do mesh very well with its software, push, if you will. So it'll be curious to see how they both set up the new hardware and how it connects to the larger Windows 10 universe, if you will.
So is this are we going to hear when we're going to see this promise of Windows 10 working seamlessly across all devices? Are we going to see that in the Lumia handsets?
Well, it's a good point because the Windows 10 version that's made for mobile phones is not officially out yet. As people recall, Windows 10 came out for desktop and laptop and tablet machines, but not for smartphones yet. So if they release or announce the new smartphones but don't give us information on the Windows 10 version for mobile devices, I think that'll be a bit of a wash. I think people expect to hear at least some notes on how it's going, what to expect. I mean, they have to set expectations. Right now, people are assigned to Windows 10 on a relatively quick basis. But the argument has long been for the larger Windows line that use Windows 10 everywhere. And they haven't gotten there yet. So I'll be curious to see how they fuse the two, if you will.
So you also wrote about this alleged HoloLens nerd helmet, as we're calling it now. Do you expect to see that come out at this event?
I really hope so. I was lucky enough to play with it earlier this year in, 3 or 4 very controlled demos, and that's good, but certainly not the equivalent of having a lot of hands-on time. So I don't have a lot of inside information yet. I'm calling people, but we'll see about if we'll see HoloLens. I think if we don't, people will worry that it's going to be either a slipping product or maybe it's something that won't ship, which would be too bad, certainly. I would bet you, Megan, I don't know, $3, $4, $7 that we'll probably see it, but no more than 15.
If they display HoloLens again, I am ready for them to show something besides Minecraft. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think, the original demos were a bit broader than just Minecraft, but certainly the Minecraft demos stole the show. I think what I want to see is not just another demo, but more of a point about how this fits into other Windows products. For example, when I'm at the office, as I am pretty much every day now, am I going to sit down, plug in my laptop to my monitor, put on my HoloLens, and then work? Or is it more of a walkabout experience and so forth? I don't think we have a lot of good color on what that looks like. But again, if we don't see anything at all, that'll be a bit of a disappointment. But the product is now shipping, I believe, Q1 of next year is the current scuttlebutt. So we have a bit of time. But Q1's only so far away. We're now coming to the end of Q3 15. Wow, it's a whole year off. But certainly time is marching along. So I think we should hopefully see at least a mention of it.
And so when you demoed it, was it heavy on your head? Was it a final thing that you how did it feel?
Well, I used some pre-release hardware. So it was like being strapped into one of those like Matrix helmets because there was like cords going everywhere. It wasn't the fancy thing you've seen on stage and so forth. Mm-hmm. So my experience was using, completely non-final hardware, perhaps even non-production hardware in any sense. So I don't really know, but it wasn't that heavy, but it was hard to put on. They had to like cinch it to my face and like make it all situated. I presume the final product will not have those limitations, but again, just to throw Microsoft a bone here, I thought HoloLens, when I used it, was actually really, really cool. So I hate to be a fan of something, but like I'm actively excited about where the product goes.
So was that January when you tried it, or was that a later version that you tried?
January. Whenever they did the first round of demos of that large event on campus, I was there. It was January or February, I forget which month, but yeah, that was the time. So when everyone else got to see it, I got to see it.
So the Microsoft Band, are we expecting to see the Microsoft Band 2?
I think it's time. Actually, I bought one, ironically, with my own money. I was going to expense it, but then I lost it. So I actually had to pay for it myself. That's a little bit of inside baseball. I thought the Microsoft Band had a lot of potential. I really enjoyed the way it was supposed to fit into your life and also leverage other services. But it was definitely first gen, limited release. A little expensive, a little uncomfortable. So it'll be really fascinating to see, if they have actually finished this yet, how much smaller, lighter, thinner, and more capable they can make it. But certainly they made a big push and tried to get a lot of press coverage for it originally. So if they don't bring it up at this event, either one of two things: they're behind, or two, it's just not a product part of the Windows 10 universe, and therefore it doesn't fit in this event more largely. And the recent rumor from Mary Jo Foley of ZDNet, who's amazing, is that the Band 2 will actually not run Windows 10, but will instead actually still keep using just a generic firmware on the device itself, at which point I would be not surprised if it didn't show up. So it's a question of where in the Windows 10 universe and family does this actually sit. And I don't think I know enough to kind of make a guess, but certainly it's a Microsoft hardware product at a hardware event, so it wouldn't be shocking if it did come up.
Maybe they'll make it less easy to lose. Maybe the Band 2 will be maybe tethered to your wrist or something. Is that what...
Well, if you attend a very small theater production in the Mission here in SF and take your band off so it won't keep making like flashes of light, and put it between your legs and then get up and walk away, I don't think you can fix that with a band other than don't be stupid. So that's actually, I think, completely my own fault.
So there's no way to turn the lights off? There's no...
I sat down and I'm watching my friend do her production, and it was just doing things. So I was just like, I'll just hide it and so I can focus on, what's going on. Also, in a small theater, any amount of light from the audience really is distracting. So I was trying to avoid any sort of... I wasn't going to play with it, right there and be like, this is how to turn it off. So that's just me being foolish.
Yeah, you can only do that on Broadway, and then they come into the audience and grab it out of your hands. And
is that actually what happens?
Apparently.
Well, let's go get tickets to Hamilton and see if we can actually get seats, and then buy some Microsoft Bands and get kicked out and tell a whole blog post about it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll see if they go for the Apple Watch or the Microsoft Band, and that will be a good test.
I know the answer to that one. I think given the popularity of the latter compared to the former, I think we know what people will actually be using kind of en masse. But
maybe. So I know with Apple events, there's this constant rumor mill and people trying to just get every little crumb of information out. And then the event comes and there's a lot of, we knew that, show us something new. What happens with these Microsoft events? Like, well, what are we going to see between now and then? Anything?
Well, I'm really hoping for more leaks. So if you scroll back a little bit, this event was not a surprise. This was leaked in, not leaked officially, but was brought up in the press in August and September, early September. So people are kind of expecting this to be announced. So today, people were not like, oh my gosh, a new event. It was more like, aha, here's the official invites to the event we already knew about. We've already seen a relatively decent rash of rumors, but I don't think we have a lot of fully confirmed details. So I'll be working on this. Mary Jo, Paul Thurrott, Brad Sams, the whole Microsoft watching community, Tom Warren, will all be poking at this. But there's only so much time between now and October 6th, but I'm optimistic that we'll see at least a couple of solid rumors and leaks. Because, this is not a small event. This could be multiple devices that could sell, billions of dollars worth of hardware. So it's a lot of money, a lot of play, and a big platform. So if they flop, that'll be big. If they do well, that'll be big. And whenever you have an event of that scale, things tend to shake loose, which is in my favor, not theirs.
Right. And I hate to keep bringing up Apple, but I mean, this is a big event because the Surface 4, people want to see if it's really going to be a rival to the iPad Pro, which was released or which was, unveiled last week, will come out in November. You had a great piece on the Surface versus the iPad Pro. What are the limitations or what are the pros and cons of each?
Well, I can confess to a lot of hands-on time with every Surface device since the original one, and absolutely no hands-on time with the iPad Pro. So I don't want to speak too much out of my face here, but I think that Apple has certainly, what's the cliche, thrown down the gauntlet on these sort of attachable devices and detachable devices. I think that Microsoft has an interesting opportunity right now to attempt to preempt Apple at its own game, because Apple was compared to the Surface Pro 4. The iPad Pro was compared to the Surface Pro 3. And if the Pro 4 can make a large leap ahead of the Pro 3, it may be able to rival the iPad Pro on specs, weight, price, and so forth. It comes down to how far Microsoft has come in the last year. But they're going out second. They're not going out first to preempt Apple's cycle here. So maybe they can kind of build more momentum for themselves by putting out a product right after Apple that may be on a specs basis better or cheaper.
Well, so when I saw the keyboard that's supposed to, smartly connect to the iPad Pro, I was like, oh, that looks nice. I can't wait to get my hands on that. And Leo was like, that is not a good keyboard. do not buy that keyboard. They made some mistakes that the first Surface keyboard made that they've since fixed. Can you explain a little bit? Do you agree with that?
Well, I think my biggest beef with the iPad Pro, as I've seen it in videos and so forth, is that the angle on the screen when it's docked into its keyboard is very, very steep. And so when you have something that's that steep, it doesn't really fit well on your laptop. It doesn't fit well in your hands. And it's kind of a weird angle to stare at if it's not at the proper place. And so Microsoft had this problem with the original Surface RT way back in the day. And so they solved that to an extent by adding a variable bend stand. Whereas the iPad Pro keyboard does not appear to have that capability. So when we talk about keyboards, it can be keys, depth of press on the keys themselves. Is it a chiclet keyboard or not? But I think the angle that the iPad Pro's keyboard will have seems to be precipitously steep, and therefore I'm worried. But I haven't typed on it yet. But the only other thing I can really say here is the original Surface RT had two different keyboards, the touch and then the type. And these are two different keyboards you could attach. And if you compare the now Surface Pro 3 keyboards versus what came out with the RT, it's night and day. So they've certainly put in a lot of development time. And so it'll be curious to see if Apple can kind of come out the gate with a stronger product than what it took Microsoft a few years to get to. But then again, Apple's had a lot of time to play with what Microsoft has built. So I don't know if they've leveraged Microsoft's work. But, until you type on it, you can't really talk. Until you've read the book, you can't really say what the plot is. So I'm curious and excited to play with it. But other than that, I can't really say too much. Now,
do you use Surface 3 regularly?
I have a Surface Pro 3 at home, up to 24 on a dock. I have a Surface 3 at the office, also docked, and then I usually run around with a MacBook Air. So I'm kind of on both teams, and that's a work thing. I have to be knowledgeable or up to speed on both ecosystems. But the Pro 3 was the first Surface that I was like, whenever I travel, you're coming with me, and that was the case until I cracked its screen. So my bad. But I really did like traveling with both devices. They were just so different because the MacBook Air is not touch, whereas the Pro 3 is basically designed for touch. And if you keep in mind that OS 10, which is what you use on your MacBook Air, your new MacBook, MacBook Pro, whatever, is not touch enabled, not touch designed. And so it's the whole different category of how do you fuse iOS and mobility and productivity. And I think there's a lot of open questions there that are fair to ask, given that we haven't had a lot of hands-on time yet with the product. But again, I'm excited. It looks really cool, so I'm excited about it. But we're not really there. So
we'll find out, I guess, in October and then November.
Indeed.
So on Friday, we reported this story that Microsoft is auto-downloading some files for Windows 10 just in case you want to upgrade at some point, which, you probably say people should. Why not upgrade to Windows 10? But some users are upset that it's clogging their bandwidth or using up their data caps. What do you make of this?
Well, if Microsoft is downloading multiple gigabytes of pre-installed Windows 10 bytes to people that don't have a lot of capacity, that's bad. But given what I read about this over the last couple of days, it seems that these are people that have subscribed to automatic updates via Windows Update, the classic tool they use to update Windows in general. And so Microsoft is, so far as I understand, bringing down bits. So if they choose to upgrade, it's a much faster process. I presume they're, balancing for bandwidth and storage space and so forth. If they're doing this on a 1 gigabyte device at a low bandwidth area, that's ridiculously irresponsible. But they've talked a lot about telemetry and how they're going to bring that out slowly. So I presume that's not the case unless they're being vociferously incompetent. But keep in mind, Microsoft wants everyone on Windows 10, right? They want everyone to use this, and most people now have a broadband connection and open hard drive space. So if you want to upgrade, why not bring in those bits ahead of time? Because you've already opted into Windows Update, and then when you click upgrade, it's so fast, and you feel like the magical experience and so forth. So it's smart if they're doing it intelligently. If they're doing it with meat hooks, then it's going to be a complete disaster. And Microsoft can't afford another PR mistake. Especially in the wake of the Nokia write-down. So we'll have to see. I'm not a shareholder, so I don't really care. But I hope they're not making a mistake of that magnitude.
Well, Alex, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to get your opinion on these things. Alex Wilhelm is a writer at TechCrunch and is at Alex on Twitter. Thanks so much for joining us, Alex.
As always, a pleasure.
Take care. And finally, tonight on September 13th, 1985, Nintendo released Super Mario Bros. And a new minimalist video game landscape was launched upon the world. Happy 30th birthday, Super Mario Bros. You are now well on your way to middle age. Welcome. Several organizations on the internet honored Super Mario with Easter eggs, including Google. for Super Mario Brothers. Search for Super Mario Brothers, and then you can check that information box on the right side of the screen for your reward, which is a tribute to the golden question box that appears in Super Mario video games. Microsoft also offered an Easter egg in the form of a pixelated ninja cat riding a unicorn. I could tell you how to find that one, but that would ruin all the fun. That's it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. You can subscribe to this show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv. You can also write directly to me at megan@twit.tv. Or you can watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today. That's every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.